where to put it.
Okay, so Julie, why don't you talk to us about the learning goal for this lesson?
All right, so the learning goal for this lesson is being able to add 3 and 4 digit numbers. Kind of a sub-goal on it is adding and subtracting multiples of tens, hundreds, and thousands. And then having them kind of consciously think about 3-digit numbers that would add up to 1,000. But really the main focus of it is them being able to add 3 and 4 digit numbers.
Up to 1,000?
Up to 1,000.
Up. Okay.
And it will go beyond 1,000.
Just adding, not subtracting.
In this particular lesson is just adding.
Okay.
What does Investigations recommend that the activities look like for this?
So they have them like planning a trip. So it really is, they have one of the 3-digit numbers and they want to know what the other 3-digit number is that's going to get them to 1,000. So I mean, if you want to think about it, they're finding the difference between the number they have and 1,000. They all go about it by saying, well, what am I going to add to that to get to 1,000? So that's where the adding of the 3 and 4-digit numbers comes in. And in this case, it's going to be 3-digit numbers because they're getting to 1,000.
So the setup is that it's miles.
Yes. So they're basically they're solving problems with this family traveled so far today. The total trip that they're going to have is 1,000 miles. How many more miles do they have? So it sets up problems like that.
Do you like that well enough to have that be one of the choices?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one that we have done problems like this before. This is kind of a comeback to this skill. But yeah, I think it's that real world example for them. I think helps them kind of see what they're doing.
And the problems are written for them.
The problems are written for them. There's a student activity book. There's actually 3 pages of problems like this.
I was kind of thinking, I think maybe the same thing you were, Lori, is could they come up with
write their own.
Plan a little trip. Maybe even figure out how many miles it is.
Like even 1,000-mile trip, or
and could it be even farther than that?
Right,
I mean,
maybe it's
more
than 1,000 miles.
Yeah. And then, I mean, my outliers on the other end are the kids that are still having trouble putting single-digit addition together. When we ask them to do these kind of things, they need some really strong visual context for them to be able to.
So I wonder if they had some of the manipulatives out, if they had the hundreds, cubes, and some of those things that they could plan a trip, and if they had 1,000, and basically they would be breaking apart the parts, they could still get 3-digit number plus a 3-digit number, but it has to be more visual. So could there be a visual choice with planning a trip? And then maybe the standard, what the book is saying, plan a trip. And then, or write your own plan a trip. I wonder, how does seem for choices?
Well, I think that would work. If I make it a straight-up choice, I guess my concern is, are the kids going to go use some manipulatives and don't really need to be playing with the blocks?
Maybe, but that gets. I mean,
that's
I feel like that's
point,
okay.
Though, because then
did this really teach you anything,
or was it just
right?
Yeah,
was it really just right, or was it?
Right.
So how did the choice you made? So when we think, that review question, I think we want it to be, and to know that does it say something in the standard about the most efficient strategy, or?
I think it says fluently add and subtract.
Okay. So I wonder if when we talk about the learning goal, if we make sure that is very clear to kids, that you're wanting to get better at adding these 3-digit numbers, and you need to pick the strategy that works best for you. I'm kind of worried about the kids who need the manipulatives, who might not want to choose that to show that they can do it without. And maybe manipulatives is a choice for either of the choices? Like, even if you want to make up your own problems, could you use manipulatives for that? Or if you want to answer the questions that the book provides, could you use manipulatives?
So
Like,
could
I
you
wonder if
show it-
manipulatives is the choice
an
for
option.
either of these two choices.
Yes, I think so.
Well, because some of the kids would rather than getting the blocks out, they would rather draw a picture. I mean, they're basically using manipulatives, but they're just drawing a picture instead of getting out
The actual
the
They're
physical.
making their
they're
own.
drawing a
Right.
square. They're
Right.
drawing
Okay.
a rod.
Okay. So it could be manipulatives or draw.
Yeah.
Would they still benefit from a place value chart? Some of the lower ones too?
Some of them would, yes.
To see,
what
might, as
numbers
far as
actually,
materials,
what
maybe.
number is in tens place, and what
Yeah.
does that actually look like? That 5 right there, what does that actually mean? It means 5 tens, not 5 ones or 5 hundreds.
Yeah.
Are you thinking that you'll actually have them, like, go to Google Maps and choose a destination?
Well, I mean, that's kind of where my brain went when it's like, choose a destination. Well, gosh, that would be pretty easy to get on Google Maps and say, I'm starting here at Cornell and I want to go to, how many miles is that?
Well, and what stops along the way?
What do you want? Yeah,
Would I
right.
want to put limitations on that, or are we going to have kids trying to travel hundreds of thousands of miles?
Well,
rather
if it
than
was a driving trip, then it would have to
so
be
some-
Yeah.
Somewhere.
You can't drive over
not
the ocean.
over the ocean.
Yeah.
But still, California, that'd be a heck of a trip. From
Yeah.
It's 1,400 miles.
Yeah, so I guess that's pretty close though,
is-
but that's about,
right?
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's,
Which would be
being
okay.
coast is going to be about
And if you
1,400
give
miles.
them, I think one of the parameters you might give them is, this is approximately how many miles you could drive in a day. So
Right.
where would you want your stops to be? And then how
True, yeah.
many miles is it?
So we might even want something that for them to kind of fill out, like where is my destination? How many miles is it from here? What stops will I have to make? And then show the equation, just to give them sort of the guidelines to follow, so they're not sort of free for all on the Google Maps.
But then what does this look like for your outliers? That's a lot of,
Well, I think she
Well, that's what I mean, would I have specific, I mean, I'm envisioning make your own trip up as being like
choice
a choice
three.
by itself.
Right.
Right.
Choice 2
Yes.
being here are the workbook pages
Yes.
with the problems like we've been practicing, you can do those, or here maybe are the workbook pages, you can use manipulatives, you can draw pictures.
So it'd be workbook with or without the
Yeah.
manipulatives or drawings, and then have it be, if you feel like you're up for a challenge. A choice, I almost wonder, could be to do one on the workbook to see what it feels like, and if you're feeling good, you could switch your choice. I mean, that you wouldn't be stuck
Well,
into
yeah,
a
that's fine. I
choice.
mean, when they figured out that time we did it, where some of them realized right away, ooh, this is too hard a choice.
Not
for
a
me, I'm
choice
gonna
I
back
want,
up
right.
And go
Right.
do a different choice.
Or vice versa.
Yeah.
This is kind of boring, easy. I've got
Yeah,
it.
well,
So I
it's
feel,
something.
I feel like being super clear about the time that they have, so they realize that if they get on the computers that they know you have so much time to really prove you've met this standard, this
Or do we
expectation,
have
like you
I mean,
show your
do we
work.
have a preset list of destinations and how, I don't know.
and the length between, so
Yeah,
that they're
I'm just thinking we can waste a whole lot of time trying to get our computers out, get them turned on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
and getting somewhere that you really want to go that's really
Yeah.
either too far or not far. Yeah.
So maybe choose some fun destinations.
And just have the miles that they are.
Yeah,
You could even have the map,
yeah.
or a United States map, and
Yeah,
with the
that
mileage
would-
on
yeah,
there.
that'd be fairly
Just
easy
very,
to say,
And just
okay,
draw the
we're gonna go
miles on.
from
That
Yeah.
sounds like,
one
and then
to
they
the-
could go peek and say, oh, I want to stop in Denver on my way.
yeah.
Okay. So that would require a map with choices, with miles and choices for materials. If they want to do the workbook with or without manipulatives. But in the end, they need to be able to show evidence that they can add it, 3-digit numbers to get to 1,000. And then, do you think that is your evaluate will be whatever their tool is, like that is, or do we want like an exit ticket to say like then everybody complete this one same problem? Do you want to
That's
close
kind of
it
what
with
we've
the
been coming
same?
back to then.
like
We
with
all
one
do
same-
one problem at the end, and then just, you're gonna show me by doing the
Show me
problem,
how
but
you
you
do.
can't.
And I wonder if it's even the last question on the workbook page, so then even some of the kids who have had the time to work through it got started.
Well, we've
I
been
mean,
working with different strategies too. I mean, some people
Mhm.
will do, like the difference between these two distances, some people will do it as a missing add-in problem, some people do it as a subtraction problem. So
Mhm.
they have a whole bunch of different
so
strategies.
it would
that
be
they
show
use.
your strategy for this problem.
Right.
And just give them all the same. Do you feel like they should have all the same kind
I
of
do.
one at the end?
Yeah.
So we can then
Yeah.
measure, because some are going to go crazy with hard problems, and if they get it
Right.
wrong, that might not mean they didn't
That
meet the
they
learning
couldn't
target,
meet
that
yeah.
they just pushed themselves and they were out of their zone. They didn't have the right. Okay. So we'll choose one problem, and that they show their strategies of how they got there.
Yes.
Okay. And then we need to have a good reflection question for them as they think about these choices that they made.
We talked about two different things. We talked about, was the choice appropriate? And how did it help you reach your learning target? Because you were saying that if they chose to use the manipulatives and they didn't really need that, or vice versa, they didn't choose to use them and they did. So to have them reflect on.
So was it a good choice, and how did my choice help me get to the learning, show, understanding, or achieve the learning target?
And I think it's as simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah. Did I make a good learning choice, and did it help me get to my learning target?
Or how did it help me?
How did it help me?
Yeah, I like
You don't
I
want
like
to be
how.
yes,
You don't
right,
want it.
right.
No,
Yes or
yes or
no.
no. How did it help me? Right.
Okay. I think it's a good plan.
Okay.